Welcome to the NCS4 Online Technology Forum series, where we review people, processes, and technology by partnering with leading industry technology providers to discuss how technology applies to the operational community. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your moderator, Michael Finley with NCS4. Today's topic is event staff safety and the contactless service experience. Before we get started, I want to go over quickly some basic features of the platform. We're not going to be using the hand-raising function today to ask questions, but we do encourage questions for our panelists. To ask a question, if you look to your right for any users that are on computers, you'll see a menu list, and we're using the question feature. So if you click on that, type in your question, that's the one we're going to be doing. For smartphone users, that function is at the bottom of your screen. At the end of the session, we're going to take breaks, and we're going to have a question and answer period. So if you have any question for our panelists of anything they're talking about, please utilize that feature. This webinar is going to cover the current challenges and solutions at high volume destinations as they reopen, the innovative technology that supports event staff safety and safeguards businesses, and the contactless solution that promotes a safer, streamlined fan journey. We have an outstanding panel today to bring you this discussion, and join us today are Wen Wen, Director of Technology from Spurs Sports and Entertainment, Kurt Monnier, Vice President of Customer Success at Return Safe, and Tony Albanese, Executive Vice President of Park Hub. Welcome, gentlemen. First up is Wen Wen, Director of Technology from the Spurs Sports and Entertainment. Wen?
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you all today. I hope all of you can take something away from this presentation. Special shout out to our building GM, Casey Heverling, for leading the way on a lot of these initiatives to bring our staff back safely, and my boss, Joe Loomis. Went through a lot of research, discussions with the experts, held surveys, focus groups, held multiple department meetings and collaboration, but most of all, listened to our fans. With a little bit of background about me. I've been in the technology industry for about 21 years now. I'm going on my 5th season leading the technology department for the Spurs. With all the innovations that we went through, I am blessed to have a dedicated team supporting me on this adventure. With that, let's get right into our guiding principle. Our first guiding principle, clean, safe, and fun. Leading the industry, providing a clean and safe environment for our fans so that they can enjoy the venue and game. Down here in Texas, we say words like y'all and howdy. And we do ride our horses to work. No, I'm just kidding. Welcoming a healthy howdy to everybody. We want to provide the best experience for our fans. Spurs family, we will always do the right thing, taking responsibility and caring for each other. Next, we will hit on our strategy. Going into strategy, we wanted to create 3 pillars to look at: people, air, and surface. For people, provide screening for health, have physical distancing, face mask wearing, and hand washing. For air, enhance our filtration system, increase outside air supply, increase air exchange, and also increase our air purification system. For surface, make sure to disinfect all surfaces, manage all high touch points, and using touchless technology experiences. On our next slide, we'll walk through what we did first. It all started for us back last year. March 11th, the famous Rudy Gobert testing positive with COVID-19, and the NBA announced a shutdown. At the time, we had 95% of our staff working on site. We needed to change our staff's mindset and the ways we were operating. Within a matter of a couple of days, we implemented a communication plan through Microsoft Teams, held weekly town halls, and our CEO to address staff. Then we set up department channels for managers to be able to quickly communicate with their team. We upgraded all of our staff with Surfaces, Mac laptops, gave them wireless keyboards and mice and headsets so that they can work remotely. You'll see in kind of this presentation right here, the Wi-Fi 6 and cellular 5G. We had to turn to our building infrastructure before we did all of this. And so we had to concentrate on the Wi-Fi 6 and 5G. In November of 2020, we did a complete overhaul and upgraded our wireless network to Wi-Fi 6 and completed our 5G cellular service with both AT&T and Verizon. Things we wanted to accomplish was to provide lightning fast Wi-Fi and cellular throughout the arena. We wanted to enable touchless experiences where, whether it be outside ticket scanners, cashless transactions, food and beverage, or merchandise ordering. Fans with old or new phone didn't matter. We wanted to accommodate this for them. We were one of the first Texas venues to implement both Wi-Fi 6 and 5G with AT&T. Next, we will be looking at our staff journey back to work. On November 9th last year, we were able to open our doors back to our staff. In the visual, you'll see the steps we have taken. We've given our staff the ability to book a desk. You'll notice on the bottom right-hand corner, actually this one is not the right one, sorry. But as far as for booking of the desk, we provided physical distancing and color-coded each of the desks for our team members to be able to book a desk. With the variety of workloads, the organization decided to let our staff select days that they would like to come in. So no staggered schedule. We vetted out quite a few health screening apps, but ReturnSafe checkmarked all the boxes we needed, including contact tracing, ease of use, manageability, and single sign-on. Kirk will talk more about ReturnSafe later. We limited staff to entering in one entrance to help with security control. We upped our cleaning protocols and worked with staff on cleaning measures when using office space. We adjusted our meeting rooms with limited capacity. Last, we added touchless soda machines and meal dispensers in our break room. Next, we will go through our health screening protocols. For our staff health screening protocols, we wanted to make it as seamless and frictionless as possible. While wearing a mask, staff arrives at the arena, they are set for temperature check. Then show the ReturnSafe app or use the QR code to check in. If staff forgets their phone, it's okay. We have a standalone kiosk for staff to be able to check in. In the next slide, we will talk about our current NBA testing protocols. Working with the NBA, there are a lot of guidelines and safety measures to adhere to. There are other colored zones that do not require testing, but in this example, we will talk about red zone. Staff within the red zone are highly visible and could be around players and coaches. Each staff is required to conduct 2 PCR tests prior to game day. I included our January schedule to show how many times in red we had to get tested to ensure safety of our players and staff. Our next home game is actually this Saturday, so I have to get tested later on today and tomorrow to support the game. If I miss one test, I would not be able to support the game. Just like with the NBA players, red zone staff has to be careful not to receive a positive test result. We have to maintain a daily routine. Our standard protocol is that if you receive a positive result, you will have to wait for 10 days and show proof of 2 non-positive results or a doctor's note in order for you to go back to work. In the next slide, we'll go through a ReturnSafe dashboard. One of the features I like about ReturnSafe is their dashboard. It gives quick insight on screening status for each staff or vendor entering in the building. We set up notifications that are triggered if someone indicates any symptoms. One of the new features I like is the ability for us to override a staff member's screening status. For example, if a staff member is identified as receiving a positive result, we can go in there and set up a 10-day time window before they can re-enter in the building. If staff tries to go through the screening app, a message would indicate that they need to work from home. Next slide, we will go through what we did to provide a healthier environment. To achieve a cleaner and healthier environment, here are some of the things that we are doing. We utilize light strike robots to disinfect inside our arena for all small areas like locker room, suites, restrooms, office areas. These little robots are pretty quick, cleans in a matter of minutes. It's pretty crazy how technology has changed. We put together a clean team to make sure our high touch points areas are clean at all times. You'll see the clean team kind of running around when we are back in play. We upgraded our HVAC system to increase our airflow and installed additional 200 air purification systems, like the one that I have right behind me. We added over 300 hand sanitizing dispensers around our arena. We expanded our Spurs mobile app to include interactive informational map. And we're not done yet. We will always continue to look at building improvements in areas that we identify throughout the season. Next slide, we'll go into our food and beverage activations. We updated our food and beverage ordering service to include cashless transactions. We installed reverse ATMs for fans to be able to insert cash, and a debit card will come out for use. We activated mobile ordering service at 22 locations around the arena for express pickup. We implemented physical distancing signage to assist fans on this journey. You can see in this example, we really had to change our mindset and pivot to ensure our fans are able to quickly and seamlessly order and pick up their food. Next slide, we'll go into our fan shop. For our fan shop, we had to make some big changes because on event days, it is a very highly trafficked area. We set up cashless transactions, limit number of fans that can come in at a time. Although we limit fewer options to buy in the store, we enable the option of ordering from the app with express delivery to the team store or home delivery. We implemented physical distance line queuing and added a floating cashier to avoid congestions. So what's next for us? For future outlooks, including working with Return Safe with Kirk and Jason on testing integrations and also, if needed, vaccine. We built out a brand new state-of-the-art event command center. For all events, it's a central location for all stakeholders to gather, including fan experience, security, building operations, the sheriff, medical, and technology department. We look at real-time threats, outside and inside traffic, and operations, making timely decisions when needed. Next, building out a crowd intelligence platform, how we can connect our cameras, Wi-Fi 6, 5G, IoT devices in a single dashboard to monitor and create additional activations. So really looking forward to Tony from Park Hub's presentation later. Adding more digital elements and fan engagement areas, creating those special picture moments for our fans. Continue to stay on top of technology so we can prepare for the next crisis. For the Spurs organization, it's about winning on the court and off the court. Thank you for your time and attention today. If there are any questions, place them into the chat. I'll turn it over to Kurt.
Thanks a lot, Win. Win, it's been a pleasure working with you and the Spurs team over the past few months, so thank you for that, and thank you to everyone in the audience who's joining us here today. Over the past year, I and the brilliant team that I have the privilege of working with here at Return Safe have had the opportunity to help the Spurs and dozens of other organizations reopen their events, their offices, their campuses. We're now 12 months into the pandemic shutdowns, and really what most people want is just to get back to normal, but to do it safely. With smart policies and the use of technology, we're able to make that possible. So let's talk about how you can open up your venues and your businesses, follow the CDC guidelines, and keep your employees and your guests safe. One of the things that can make reopening so intimidating is that doing so safely and effectively requires multiple layers of protection. Beyond PPE, disinfecting, and masks, how do you ensure that people are screening before coming into the office or the stadium? Do you need to provide testing to your employees or guests? What do you do if there's a positive case and contact tracing is required? Are your employees and vendors vaccinated, and how does that impact your protocols? Well, let's talk about the layers that NBA teams and others have implemented and how you can do the same to start getting back to normal. First, I want to talk about screening. That's the first layer of effective protection. So the CDC recommends daily screening prior to entering a workplace or an event to ensure that only people who meet certain criteria receive an access pass to come in. And this is one area where technology can be a big help. Moving the screening from paper to phone and web app improves accuracy, it's much faster for your employees and your guests, and it eliminates that paperwork and record-keeping burden that you would otherwise have. Frankly, this is one of the first and easiest things that you can do to reopen. It'll save you a lot of time and money to implement a screening platform, and most importantly, it ensures that your visitors are given accurate recommendations based on the latest and ever-changing guidance. You can easily be up and running with a screening platform in probably a day or two. The next layer is the testing programs. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're providing tests to your employees, though some organizations do take that approach. There are a number of testing providers that we work with that enable companies to provide tests directly to their employees if they want to, and if that's something you're looking to do, we can help connect you with them. One of the things that any company can do is just educate your employees on when to get tested and where testing is available. You can make sure that they're informed when they should get tested as a result of their screening answers. So that's one of the benefits of the dynamic screening is you can actually, based on the answers that they're providing to your questions, you can tell them when they should be going and getting tested for COVID. And you can track these testing results through a platform such as ours. The next thing I want to talk about is contact tracing. So when an employee or a guest does test positive for COVID-19, an effective contact tracing strategy can be the difference between keeping a few at-risk employees home and shutting down your whole office. Right, there are a number of options to help assist with contact tracing, whether it's a wearable lanyard or a clip or a badge that people can wear. And this is really accessible to everyone now at a pretty low price point with the use of Bluetooth detection between two wearable devices. And there are more advanced options available as well, such as the ultra wideband devices that the NBA teams are using with their players. So several different technology options are available to help out with that, depending on your use case. As an example, even outside of sports, so I work with a number of manufacturing companies where working from home simply isn't an option. Effective contact tracing is saving those companies tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, with more targeted quarantine measures. That's keeping them from shutting down the whole facility when there's a positive test to just limiting it to the number of people that have been in contact with that individual. Next is the vaccine tracking. Right, one of the more recent layers of protection that we have to consider now, or I should say we get to consider now because it's a fantastic thing, is the tracking of vaccination status. So thank goodness they're here, right? Segments of the population are beginning to get vaccinated. But what does that mean for you as a business? What's the role of a business in the vaccination rollout? Well, much like with testing, the approach to a vaccine can vary business to business. Some businesses may require vaccines, others may not. One thing that every company can do is encourage their staff to get vaccinated and provide materials to their employees on the safety of the COVID-19 vaccine and on how to get vaccinated. Doing that is going to help demonstrate your commitment to creating a safe workspace. Beyond that, how do you plan on incorporating vaccination status into your other safety measures? As an example, based on the latest CDC guidance that came out the other day, fully vaccinated people no longer have to quarantine if exposed. And this is one area where technology can be a huge help. We're able to take vaccination status into account and dynamically determine the screening results and the quarantine recommendations based on that status. This helps you further reduce the business risk, smartly limit who needs to stay home and when, and helps measure how close your population is to reaching herd immunity. Finally, I want to talk about case management. Even with all the other layers of protection in place that we've talked about, you will have occasions, unfortunately, where an employee tests positive for COVID-19. And this is where a biosecurity platform can really tie everything together. I've worked with so many companies that were trying to keep track of their cases and the follow-ups on spreadsheets, which is, as you can imagine, error-prone, completely unscalable. These organizations have been able to replace their spreadsheets with automated workflows. So I'd strongly encourage you to implement a case management solution if you haven't already, that's going to help you automate your response to incidents and give you that single view that Wynn talked about into what's happening within your organization. So if you'd like help doing that or implementing any of the other layers of protection that we talked about today, feel free to reach out to me. My email is easy to remember. It's just Kurt with a K at returnsafe.com. And remember, the more layers that you use, the more protection that you're going to get. So when employees and guests see your company take an interest in their health, they're going to be more confident in you, and they'll take the safety measures more seriously themselves. So let's all work together to get back to normal. And with that, allow me to introduce Tony from Park Hub, who's going to talk more about future-proofing your event operations.
Great. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Wynn, and thank you all for taking time out of your, I'm sure your busy days to hear about how we can return safely, keeping our employees safe, keeping our fans safe, and future-proofing your event operation. So went into some really valuable detail about, how the Spurs specifically are reopening safely, and then, frankly, offering their guests a world-class experience while they're on site, even in this kind of difficult time. And Kurt, we work with Return Safe, one of our big partners, and Kurt and his team have done a good job putting a great product together. And he kind of focused in on one piece of that puzzle, which is kind of the screening, the tracing, and the tracking component. To make sure that your employees and your guests are safe. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of a step back and talk about how you can use this time period as you're looking at reopening, and focus in on several different areas where we are seeing trends. We are seeing folks looking at, hey, I need to reduce contact. How can I bring in some contactless payment and access control solutions that not only make us safer, but also improve the guest experience? So I'm going to go through a lot of sort of guest experience things and just look at some trends that we're seeing. So if we look at current trends in the market, they're really see a lot of things focused around three areas. A lot of what we've talked about today is safety. So 55% of event professionals cited safety concerns as the biggest obstacle hosting live events. That's not surprising to anybody. Coupled with that is convenience. Big trend in the consumer world. We've seen convenience is key. I can order things online and have them delivered to my house in a number of hours. I want to be able to pay for things using my mobile phone, using tap to pay or scan to pay solutions. So how can we increase safety? How can we increase convenience? And then interestingly, and we've seen this in our business at Park Hub, we've seen event operations really accelerate the digitization efforts significantly. And there's some data out there that says this COVID crisis, while it has been absolutely terrible, has pushed us, kind of 3 to 4 years into the future in terms of technology adoption. So I'm gonna kind of broadly talk about the focus areas for event technology that we're seeing our customers and partners advance in rapidly as they look to reopen. We're gonna go through 8 kind of different areas in a little bit of depth. First is, and this sort of follows the journey of the van as well. First is in the ticketing portion. So advanced ticket sales and mobile delivery certainly was something that was trending up pre-COVID. That's gone from a nice to have to a must have. So whereas you may have seen, your season ticket holder get a pack of paper tickets, and we had many of our customers that were doing that pre-COVID. I don't think we have a single customer today that is still using a paper or PDF sort of delivery method with their ticketing platform. They're going all to mobile, both for building entry tickets as well as for parking, which is kind of our main focus. So doing mobile ticket delivery and then integrating with, if you have a venue application or some other fan-facing application, making sure that mobile ticket delivery is integrated into that application to give people an easy way to access their tickets or their parking pass prior to the event going on, and making sure that can then be utilized in a contactless way on site, which we'll get to in a minute. The second portion of that, great, I've got my tickets. Now we're seeing a lot of advancements in integration and location services and wayfinding. And I'll say that begins with the driving journey. So one of the areas that we've been focused on is how can we get the guest and the fan to the correct parking location, the one that's closest to the entry point that they need to go into, so that people are spending, we want to limit how people are spending time together in groups. So bringing them to the venue, to the appropriate location, and even in some instances timing those so that they're tiered. So you're not bringing everybody to the venue and having that big rush simultaneously, but encouraging people or creating systems in which people are staggered as they're coming into the venue, and then they're being routed to the appropriate entrance to get closest to their seating area, so they're not milling around the common areas inside the venue trying to figure out where their seats are. And that kind of dovetails into interior space wayfinding. I think Wen mentioned, their IoT platform there with the Spurs, where make it easier for people to figure out where exactly they have to go once they're in the venue. So again, they're not walking around the concourse in large groups. Contactless payment processing. You heard Wen talk about that a bit in their concessions and their fan shop. We like to think about that as, you need to have contactless payment processing and parking. Not everybody purchases their parking in advance, although we'd love them to. If you're taking payment on site for parking, which most people do, can you do that using a contactless payment method, either Apple Pay or Google Pay, contactless tap to pay, credit card payments, those types of things in the parking field, then bringing that inside into the venue in terms of your merchandise and your food and beverage sales points, making sure those are all capable of accepting contactless payments. Almost all of our customers currently are deprecating cash payments over the next 12 months. So moving to only electronic forms of payments, this becomes extremely important. Next up, Bluetooth enabled access control or other contactless methods of access control. So Wen mentioned this as well in his presentation, the tap to enter, kiosk to authenticate tickets, interior access control into clubs, VIP areas, that type of thing, making sure that that's a touchless, contactless experience as you're moving kind of within the venue. We're seeing a lot of adoption in QR codes. That could be a QR code used to make a payment, to bring up a menu, food and bev, to get a location aware information. And I would say 18 months ago, people didn't really use QR codes. And if you've been fortunate enough to be able to go to a restaurant, you probably sit down and you see the QR code taped to the table where you can pull up the restaurant menu. The public at large is getting used to using QR codes. We are starting to see a much wider adoption of that. People are looking at how can I introduce QR codes into my venue, into my event center, so that I don't have to have so many paper things, and I can really drive a location aware experience. I can take payments with QR codes, those types of things. So we're seeing quite a bit of that. Wen mentioned mobile ordering. This is a big growth area. We see most of our customers looking at how can I bring mobile ordering into my venue. And again, a lot of that being integrated into a fan-facing, guest-facing application experience as well. Mentioned some ancillary services too. We're looking at how can we make this guest experience even better by offering them things that maybe they didn't know that could be available. We work, for example, with a refueling company where you can park your car, go into the concert or the basketball game, and then actually have your car refueled while it's sitting there. I think we're going to see more and more of these sort of ancillary services pop up, not only because one, that now eliminates a trip to the gas station where you have to touch a fuel pump and dip a credit card and all that kind of thing, but it also creates a more valuable value proposition for the guest, and they think, wow, this team really cares about me. As Kurt said, if you make people feel safe and feel cared for, that's always a positive. So offering different ancillary services, et cetera. And then tying all that together, and Wen mentioned this, how are all these things performing? Do I have a way that I can see what's going on with my ticket sales, what's going on with access to my parking lots, where are people entering my parking, what does that mean to how much traffic is going to be at each door to my building, what are people doing while they're inside? Being able to look at all of this in real time is particularly important. And so as you're thinking about deploying these things, how are you going to monitor this? How are you going to monitor the performance of this as it relates to, biosecurity? Return Safe has created a fantastic biosecurity dashboard what other dashboarding systems, what other live analytics systems are you going to deploy, so that it's great to have all these things, but are they working? What's going on with them, so you can respond in real time to anything that needs to happen. So those are kind of the areas. Next up, we're just going to kind of walk through the fan journey from start to finish. So if you focus on these things and you implement some solutions, what does this look like from a fan experience standpoint? Beginning with ticket delivery. So I'm gonna go on my mobile device. I'm a Spurs fan. I go to my Spurs app and I'm able to secure my tickets and a couple of tickets for my friends, and I'm able to buy my parking. We're gonna come in 2 separate cars because we don't live together, but so I buy 2 parking passes and 4 tickets, and I'm able to send those off to my friends and prepare to enjoy the Spurs game. As I get into my car, I've got wayfinding. I know exactly the parking lot that I need to go to, and my GPS system is going to guide me directly to the entrance point of that parking lot. And when I get to that parking lot, the parking lot attendant is masked up, and they have a device that can in a contactless way scan my parking pass and authenticate that I'm in the right parking place on the right day at the right time, and I'm allowed to enter the parking lot without ever having to touch anything or have anybody breathe on me. And then as I get into the venue, I've got a contactless ticketing authentication system for my game ticket. Allows me to go into the venue without having to hand anything to anyone or have anybody touch my device. So all very safe and clean, and also very quick and efficient. Get to my seat. I know exactly where my seat is because the in-venue wayfinding guides me via the Spurs app to the section and row and seat that I'm supposed to sit in. I'm socially distanced away from other people. I didn't spend a lot of time milling around the concourse in close proximity to folks because I used that wayfind to get me exactly where I needed. And then once I'm seated, I'm able to open that Spurs app and see what food and beverage options are available, order those, and then either get alerted when I can go pick that up at the concession stand, or maybe somebody is delivering that to me. And then all the while I'm sitting there enjoying the game, somebody's refilling my car and washing my windows. This is an example of what's possible when you can knit all of these things together. And then kind of on the last point, the big win is if I can deliver this experience to my fan, everything's convenient, everything's safe, and I can monitor this stuff in real time. If we move to the next slide, you can see an example of kind of what we're talking about. This happens to be one of our products, but there are many other products that do similar things. But you need to have something that you can gain real-time visibility into what's going on in each of these little areas, so that your staff, your operations people, your guest experience experts, your VIP management folks, they can all see kind of what's going on in the areas that are important to me. We happen to focus a lot on parking. Does parking operations know what parking lots are under the most load? What's staffed appropriately? Are there any technological errors that are occurring that need to be triaged and dealt with? Same thing at the door, same thing at the concession stand, same thing in safety and fan experience. How can we gain visibility in these things? What tools are available to us to do that? Let's make sure we have those tools and have in the hands of the right staff to make instant decisions in real time. And then after the fact, can I measure key fan metrics? Can I go back and see how close am I to herd immunity using return safes function? How many people are using my mobile ordering versus ordering at the counter? And can I increase the number of mobile orders because that's safer and more efficient? All those types of things. It's great to have great products out there. It's great to improve the experience. If we can measure it and we can look back on it, we can always improve it, make it better, make it safer, and ultimately deliver a better fan experience. So with that, I think time to go to Q&A, and I think Michael, you're going to run that.
Yes, I am. So thank you, everybody. And I want to remind everybody that if you have any questions for our panelists, please use the question feature. It's on the right-hand side for anyone that's using a laptop or a PC. If you're on your smartphone, that feature is located at the bottom of your screen. So just type in your question there in the question, and we'll get to it. So this first question is probably gonna be directed to you a little bit. Is Return Safe connected to your access control? And if someone tested positive, does it automatically shut off their card, or are they clear to return, or are you manually updating each employee?
Yeah, so at this time, when we first hooked up with Return Safe, we were probably one of the first ones to kind of get in with Return Safe. And so from the access control standpoint, we really did not have the funds for our access control system itself. The access control system that we currently have, there wasn't any integration to Return Safe. There are other providers out there that we're looking at potentially in the future for that direct access control. At this time, what we have is we've directed our security to kind of work with the Return Safe app itself and kind of looking at the dashboard, and then also looking at just the regular, hey, green to go in, and or red to stay home. So, and then as it relates to just overall the integration component, if someone receives a positive result, so typically when somebody gets a positive result for us, they would do a couple of things. One is to contact the HR, and then from HR we would then go into the dashboard and automatically set that policy up. If they do indicate that they currently have symptoms right now, it would just be, the alert was set up to our contact tracers to start identifying and working through contact tracing with them, and then going in there and potentially doing the automation way next. So that is definitely something that we're in discussions with Return Safe with Kurt and the team on that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay.
Michael, I can expand on that even a little bit more. It's a really good question because people always ask, okay, people are doing their screening, but how do we know that they did their screening and what the result is? And so there are a number of different approaches that people take to that, right? Whether, as Wynn mentioned, it's having security check the access pass on the phone as the Spurs are doing, or integrating with an access management system. Which we actually do as well for some organizations in conjunction with a temperature scanning, right? So you can actually in real time kind of scan people's temperature and have that also determine whether they can get back in. So you're not relying on them self-reporting whether or not they have a fever. So a lot of different solutions to that access control methodology depending on the setup of your organization.
Okay. The next question is Return Safe connected to any national database to track vaccination shots?
I take that one as well. So that's actually something that we're currently working on. One of the challenges with that is that, and one of the challenges people have in general getting a vaccine appointment is there really is no national standard, right? Each state has its own setup, and then within the state it can be pretty difficult, navigating the systems and finding out where an available appointment is. It's something I'm, trying to help my parents with currently up in Massachusetts, as they're now eligible, and it's almost impossible to find where to go to book a vaccine. So we're looking into right now building some tooling to consolidate those resources into a single place and make that a bit easier for folks to find and provide to their employees.
Okay. Next question is, are there any legal and/or HIPAA issues related to asking patrons to provide negative tests or vaccination proof?
I'll take this one as well. So I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this as legal advice, but a couple aspects to that, right? So some of the questions that are asked during screening could certainly fall under the HIPAA guidelines and protections. It is very important if you're choosing a biosecurity platform or any platform that you're working with related to COVID, that you make sure it is certified as HIPAA compliant, because that's going to cover your bases if you do get into that territory. In terms of the whether or not you can ask employees for their vaccination records. It depends a lot on the circumstances, local regulations. Is it union employees where there's union contracts involved? So that's really should be handled on a case-by-case basis, I would say. But the most important thing is make sure that any technology you do use has those layers of security built in so that you're collecting the data in a safe way.
Okay. So when this is, I'm going to kind of combine both of these questions. So invariably someone will forget their phone and not have a smart device. How are you handling that? And the second part of this, or what has been the feedback from employees using this application?
Yeah, so the first answer to your question is we put in pretty much a kiosk at every entering in every location. And so it's actually pretty inexpensive. It's just a regular iPad that is charged up. And then from there, the user would go in there, put in their login credentials and be able to get in. If it is a vendor, what will happen is they'll put in their credentials to get in. Once they verify, through their two-factor authentication, they can then enter into the building. The second thing is that was one of the biggest things, needs for us when we were looking at a screen health tool is the ease of use for our employees. Literally, I mean, you can be walking, right when you park the car, walking into, entering our building, you can complete the testing, the health screening questions in a matter of minutes. So, I mean, it's literally pretty quick. And so from the feedback for that, the ease of use has been number one for us and for our users. So they really enjoy that aspect of things.
Okay. Question on the light strobe robot. Is it approved? Is it a health approved product?
I'm not a health expert at all. But what I will say that we went through pretty much all the protocols that was necessary, and and we were able to get the robot.
Okay. And again, for any panelist here, is there anyone else using the contactless temperature scanning device built into the walkthrough magnetometers? And then how are you disinfecting, divesting tables and bins at the entry point for staffs?
Is that for me or for Win?
Whoever.
I think there's okay, yeah. Just in general, there's a lot of disinfecting approaches that people are taking with return safe. There's the contact tracing devices that need to be disinfected. There's if you're handing them out to visitors, right? And so not everyone always has the same device. Obviously, you want to keep the kiosks clean. So Win could probably get into more specifics around the exact logistics of keeping those clean, but in general, that is something you need to think about. And most of these devices, luckily, can just be sprayed with a normal disinfectant spray. So very, very tactically, that's what people are doing. In terms of the logistics around that, let Win answer that one.
Yeah, so for us, we were looking at kind of the magnetometers with including the thermal scanner, but when we kind of looked at it, the cost wise for us didn't really match up, and so we really just armed our security guards and kind of overall wise with just a regular temperature scan gun, and all it is literally they go in there real quick, check the temperature scan so that they can kind of move along. I think there's some things to where I really love technology, but at the same time, if it breaks, it's kind of a stopgap, right? And so this is really not a stopgap for us. We want to be able to get staff in as quickly as possible. The same thing for the fans. As far as cleaning wise, hopefully you guys can kind of see this, but we have like little stations like this where we have wipes and then also kind of hand sanitizing. So for us, as it relates to kind of security entryway and all that stuff, we have those as well too, that we're constantly wiping and making sure that that we are utilizing cleaning protocols. And then we also have the clean team as well too, that's kind of staggered throughout the arena on game days to kind of ensure that safety guidelines are being met.
So looking at our attendee list, we've got folks that are security managers, facility managers, event managers. if someone out there is determining if they need this technology, what do they need to consider? It's for any of our panelists.
Wynn, you've been through this.
Yeah, sure. For us, there's a couple of things to take into consideration. For what I've seen best is that, go out there, vet out some of the products, but then also get the stakeholders that need to be involved, whether it be building operations, whether it be, fan experience, other departments, or if you have a good working team in sales, premium areas, or other departments, get them involved as well too. Like, through this process, I worked a lot with HR as well. And so they also brought up some good points and what you guys were mentioning about with HIPAA and with safety guidelines and all that stuff. So, bringing in those proper people to that conversation. But it all starts with, making sure to kind of vet out some of the products and then putting a team together that works well as well too. You just don't want to put anybody together, but really working through and vetting out the product and having those daily conversations and really keeping those meetings in line with what you guys are trying to accomplish. Because I think if you try to look at the overall bigger scope of things, it's a lot, right? But if you narrow it down to, health screening app, a temperature scanner, what we can do, on specific areas, that's where I think you can kind of start to be able to develop a good action plan for your company.
Yeah, if I could dovetail in on that as well, when one of the things that this is constantly evolving. Nobody's been here before. We're dealing with things that we've never considered that we would ever have to deal with. I think, looking at the different components that you may already have and what fits. Again, I'm big picture guy, right? So fan journey wise, how do we knit these things together? So kind of starting with a baseline of here's what I have today. Here are the components that I think I need to add, and talking to the various vendors that are out there to help provide those components. Ask them, how can this work together in totality with everything that I'm doing, and not just your, one little piece that I'm coming to you for. I think engaging that community and getting their feedback, you'll end up with a much more cohesive solution at the end as well.
Kurt, anything to add on this one?
I mean, I think those guys hit the nail on the head, right? Chances are your organization doesn't have someone whose job it is to deal with COVID, right? It's a collaboration across multiple groups with almost every single company that we work with. I'm working with folks in IT. I'm working with folks on the HR side, oftentimes the legal side as well. So get everyone together, put together a business continuity team, whatever you want to call it, a COVID task force. I've heard a number of names for it, right? But that you should have that group within your organization that's figuring out, all right, what do we need to do? What are the steps that we got to take to get back to work? And then you can go about picking the technology to help you do that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the next question I had was about the stakeholders, and I think Wynn covered that. One question I do have, so there's stakeholders that are needed to decide if this technology is for you. Do those stakeholders change once you start implementing the technology?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where, we when we first looked at it, we had, high level stakeholders that were involved in picking the process. But once it came to kind of the implementation process, that's whenever you need to start expanding it out more. And I'll give you kind of an example of that. We went through the health screening kind of protocols with Kurt and with their team, ended up choosing that. We had building operations that were first involved. We have the safety manager, we had IT, and then we had legal that was involved and HR. And then once the implementation process came about, we ended up having more team members within the IT side, HR side, and legal aspect of things, and also our fan experience team as well too, and really catering towards that as well as our creative team. Because once we start developing the QR code, we started looking at, there's other things that might pop up that, the stakeholders that were first involved was not there. So, being agile, because, this is something that we're all kind of facing with these new technology. There's not a blueprint that's out there right now, right? And so we're the ones creating this blueprint right now, but I think it's one of those things where I think, for the people that are out there right now, you guys have gotten a lot of, information out there, but learn from our previous kind of experiences as well too, and kind of, jumping into some of these webinars and stuff. This is really, really great value that I wish I had back then. But it's one of those things where it continues to learn, and it really depends on your environment and how you adapt to it. But, always, if you think that this department's going to have a big use for it, or if they need to be involved, include them as well too. But really working through what your organizational needs are.
Okay. All right, we're going to start wrapping up and maybe get some last thoughts. Kurt, we're going to start with you. Any last thoughts or things you want to leave with our audience?
Just first of all, thanks for attending today. Love seeing the large audience here. I love seeing people thinking about how to reopen, how to get fans back in the stadiums, how to get people back at their events and back in the office. So we're here to help. Please do reach out with any questions for me or for any of our other panelists. That's what we're here for.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, just, one parting thought is you guys, everybody on this call has taken a proactive step in figuring out how to reopen safely. It's never too early to engage in getting that plan together. There's a lot of uncertainty around when will I have a live event in my venue? That's going to probably be a moving target based on a whole bunch of different factors that nobody can accurately predict right now. But I know, we are working with many people on the front end and going, look, at some point you're going to need to do this. Let's help you craft a plan. Let's help you put the team together, the tech team, the vendor team, and make sure it's integrated together. And then you're ready to go as soon as you feel like you safely can. So start early.
Okay. And Wynn, you got the last word.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining today and kind of allowing me to kind of share my experiences out there. If you guys need any details or anything with regards to that, more than happy to have you guys reach out to me. My email address is kind of what you see down there, is nwin@spurs.com. So hopefully, I know there's quite a bit of you guys that are currently in the sports entertainment side and that we've met before, but definitely happy to kind of show you guys also around the arena. Hopefully you guys can kind of come down to San Antonio, enjoy one of the games, and see some of this stuff in action.
All righty. Just don't ask Greg Popovich any pertinent questions, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know how, what the game is going to outcome for the game, but what I will tell you that from a building perspective, we're gonna win off the court for sure.
There you go. All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists today, Kurt, Tony, Wynn. It was a great conversation, and thank you very much. And for the audience out there, I want to thank you for attending. A recording of this will be available on our website at ncs4.us or at usm.edu. I want to remind everybody that March 9th through 10th is the NCS4 Interscholastic Athletics and After School Safety and Security Forum. If you go to our website, it is also listed there. And again, thank you very much for our panelists. Thank you for attending. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.